Today I am going to demonstrate you how to read chest x-ray. So this is a typical chest x-ray of an adult female showing the lung fields, the cardiac shadow, the right lung field, your vertebral column, and the ribs, right? So you can trace the ribs back, and these are the clavicles. You can trace that this is the scapula. So this scapula and its border, it is hard to demonstrate that this scapular border, only the radiologist can find it where the scapular border is ending on this typical chest x-ray, right? So this is the head of the humerus, and this is the right dome of diaphragm and the left dome of diaphragm. Below this is the stomach, and it is showing this mild small bubble gas on the left side. There is no bubble gas on the right side. Once you see bubble gas on the right side, it is a surgical emergency. It demonstrates that there is a bowel there is a bowel perforation, right? So once you see a chest x-ray, first of all you have to look, is it correct or not? Have I placed it in a correct position on the radio board? The radio board, these are the radio boards in which we used to demonstrate or illustrate the chest x-ray when we are having the light in the background to show the image clearly to us. So have this the how to interpret it correct and how to place it correctly. So look at these words, put it in a correct manner, right? So this will show you that this chest x-ray is, once these are upward and in a correct way, so it will demonstrate that this chest x-ray has been placed correctly. So now you people have to comment on so 4 things in a chest x-ray. Remember, these 4 things are, I am writing it on a register. These are ripe. Remember what are these 4 things? These are R I P E, ripe. So once you see a chest x-ray, comment on the whether the chest x-ray is rotated or not, right? So how will you comment on a chest x-ray whether it is rotated or not? Comment on both the clavicles touching the sternum, sternoclavicular joint, right? That whether it is in equidistant from the sternum or in the background of a sternum. You will see on a PA x-ray, on a PA view, you will see the spinous process right in the middle. So comment on the clavicle, whether the clavicle are equally placed from these spinous processes or not, right? So once they are equally placed, this clavicle, so that this x-ray is not rotated. If a clavicle is, one clavicle is small and from this spinous process showing in the vertebra in the background, and the other clavicle is long showing, so it means that this x-ray is rotated, right? So we can't interpret this x-ray in a correct way. So we need a non-rotated film to interpret it for a diagnostic purpose. So look at this. So this is one clavicle, this is another clavicle, and in between you can see this are the spinous processes. This is the spinous process, this is the another spinous, this is another spinous process. So look at this. From this spinous process, this clavicle is equidistant and this as compared to this clavicle. So this is a non-rotated. So this is a non-rotated. This clavicle is measuring the same as compared to this from this spinous process. So it means that this film is not rotated, right? Second, RIPE. The second thing mean I mean inspiration. So comment on inspiration. How will we know that the x-ray taken is in inspiration during the inspiration phase of respiration for the patient? So count the ribs. If the ribs shadows are more than 5 to 6, then it means for lungs so it means that this x-ray has been taken during inspiration, right? So count this x-ray has been taken when the patient was inspiring and has hold his breath. So look at this rib. So this is the first rib, second, third, the fourth rib, the fifth, sixth, seven, eight. So these are 8 rib covering the in front of the lung, so in the lung field. So it means that this x-ray is correctly taken during inspiration phase, right? Why? Because the ribs are more than 6 in number. If the ribs are less than 5, so it means that x-ray has been taken in expiration phase. So the lung fields will be less, this diaphragm will go up, right? And this neck and region and this the upper portion of shoulder will come down. So this number of ribs for the lung field will be less than 5 to 6 during expiration, and that x-ray won't be good for diagnostic purpose. So comment on the inspiration too, right? Third thing is comment on what? Comment on the projection. Comment on the P mean projection, right? What is meant by projection? Projection mean there are 2 types of projection in a chest x-ray. One is AP view and one is PA view. Commonly we use for 80 to 90% of x-rays we use PA view, right? Mostly if the x-ray has not mentioned AP view, it means that this is in a PA view. How will you recognize that this is a PA view? For simple demonstration, just remember one thing. If the clavicles are below the lung apices, if the clavicles are below the lung apices, then it means that this x-ray has been taken in a PA view, right? So look at this x-ray. Look at this x-ray. This is a typical PA view. No PA has been mentioned on this x-ray. And look at this clavicle, the lung apex. This is the lung apex, and on the right side this is another lung apex. So the apexes are above the clavicle, so it means that this is a PA view, right? Another thing we can comment on the cardiac shadow. In a PA view, the cardiac shadow will look a bit larger, a bit smaller than the AP view, and second, the vertebrae will be more prominent, the spinous process will be more prominent when the x-ray has been taken in a PA view. But for simple purpose, you have how to recognize it just by one point. Then it is look at this apices, which will be above the clavicle, right? The last and foremost important thing is comment on the E. There are 4 things: R, I, P and E. The E mean exposure for X-ray. So exposure of the X-ray, how will we say that this has moderately exposure X-ray, this is mild, or these are severe exposure or high amount of X-ray has been exposed to this patient or for diagnostic purpose. So comment on this vertebra and spinous process. If you see this vertebral body in a very clear manner, like look at this vertebra and this vertebra, they are not so much clear. So if they are not so much clear, it means that it is mild exposure, right? If they are very much clear, so and a very definite structure of vertebra you can see with the intervertebral disc, so it means that the vertebra has been exposed in a moderate amount or high doses of X-ray has been used. So comment on the spinous process and comment on the vertebral body if you have if you want to see how much the exposure was, right? So this is these are the 4 things how to comment on the chest X-ray for the first time when you see the X-ray. So it is RIPE. So what is meant by R? Rotation, whether it is rotated or not, inspiration, whether it is taken in inspiration, projection, and E mean exposure, right? Now after this we have to look for the diagnostic purpose. Now how will we look at for the diagnostic? The one method is A, B, C, D, E, method how to read the x-ray and different organs of x-ray. So some people use the ABCDE pathway. What is meant by A mean airway, right? Airway mean trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, right, and carina, etc. This point where the trachea divides is called carina, right? So you can comment on the carina too. So in airway you have to comment on the carina. Second thing is B mean comment on the breathing organs. So breathing organ is lungs, right? So comment on this lungs and the surrounding thing around it. So what is the surrounding thing around it? This is a pleura, right? A, B, breathing organs. The C, what is meant by C? The C is for costophrenic angles, right? Costophrenic angles, right? So what is meant by costophrenic angles and what is meant by cardiophrenic angle? In the background of the left lung and mediastinum there is a dense organ we call a heart, right? So and below the lung there is a dome shaped organ we call a diaphragm, right? So the pleura making this pleura making an angle with the diaphragm. This pleura and the diaphragm making an angle, we call it costophrenic angle. This is the between the rib cage and the diaphragm. This is a costophrenic angle. Remember, costo means chest wall and phrenic mean diaphragm, right? So this is costophrenic angle, right? And one is cardiophrenic angle. So this is the cardiophrenic angle between the heart and the cardiophrenic angle, right? And the other is there are two angles which have been explained, and those are the cardiophrenic and costophrenic angle. These angles are important to show pleural effusion. If these angles are not cleared and they are blurred, it means that there are some sort of fluid coming out of the lungs, right? So in pleural effusion these angles will be this blunt, right? Look at this x-ray. We have read A, airway. Look for the airway, trachea, bronchi, etc., breathing organs, lungs, etc., and pleura, and C for the costophrenic angles, right? So look at this x-ray. Comment on the airway. So look, can you see this clear halo? This clear halo is in a trachea. Along with the trachea there is these are bronchiole, and you can see this is a costophrenic angle. This is costophrenic angle, right? So this is a costophrenic angle, and you can clearly see that this is clear, having mild opacities which are normal in because of these arterioles, alveoli, and soft tissues, etc., right? So we can take it as a normal, and this is the costo and phrenic angle. So it is clear, so it means there are no pleural effusion on the left side, neither on the right side. And this is a cardiophrenic. This is the right ventricle of the heart. So right ventricle of the heart with the dome of the right dome of the diaphragm. So this is cardiophrenic angle, and it is also cleared, right? So it is also clear. So far we have read three things. Airway. So this is the trachea. The trachea is mildly to the right on the vertebral column, and it is normal when it is mildly to the right, because the lung mass on the left right side is more, so it has pulled it a bit more to itself, and as compared to the left one, right? Second thing is the comment on the lung fields And the pleura is attached into the to the walls. It is called costal pleura. Attaching to the mediastinum, to it is called mediastinal pleura, and attached into the diaphragm is called a phrenic pleura, right? And attached is supraclavicular pleura. So you can't differentiate which one is the pleura, because it is attached into the wall through fibrous tissues and connective tissues, right? And the last two things which we are going to demonstrate are the D and E. So from the C we can also comment on the cardiac shadow, right? Comment also on the cardiac shadow. How can you measure the cardiac shadow? If this is the chest wall with these two lungs, right, and in between this is the heart, right? So just measure this, the maximum length of the apex to this right ventricle. Measure this length, right? If this length is, let's suppose, 8 centimeter, and then measure the whole length, right, and measure this, if this come out to be 15 centimeter. So just remember that the cardiac shadow shall be less than 60% of the wall. It means that 8 by 15 will roughly be equal to 50%. So 50% is normal, right? If cardiac shadow is greater than 60%, the normal value for cardiac shadows are 45 to 60%. If the cardiac shadow taken measured from the heart on the X-ray and taken in proportional to the whole length of the chest wall, and it comes out to in between this range, it means that the heart is in normal range. There is no cardiomegaly or cardiac atrophy, right? If it is above this, then it means that there is a cardiomegaly. Below this means that there is some cardiac atrophy, etc., right? So from C we can see that this is mean the cardiac shadow, right? D means the diaphragm, right? The D mean comment on the diaphragm, the right dome, the left dome, and the cardiophrenic angles. And E means comment on everything else. Everything else mostly comment on the bones. Remember, comments on the bones, or is there any tubes, etc., or not, right? So just remember A, B, C, D, E. A for airway, B for breathing, lungs, etc., pleura. C for cardiac, silhouette or cardiac shadow, costophrenic angles and cardiophrenic angles. And D for what? D for diaphragm. D for diaphragm, right? This is the diaphragm, left dome, right dome, etc. And then E for comment on the most important things, the ribs, the bones, the vertebra, and everything else, right? So look at this, just a brief demonstration of what we teach, what I have taught you in the second part. So there are two things how to remember it, right? Comment on the rotation, comment on the inspiration projection, and comment on the exposure, right? And then comment on the ABCDE, comment on the airway, trachea, bronchi, carina, etc., right? Then comment on the breathing organs, the lungs, right, and the pleura. Then C for the comment on the heart, how the heart looks, and comment on the costophrenic angle, cardiophrenic angle. The D, comment on the diaphragm, whether the diaphragm is looking normal or whether the diaphragm is looking up, right? Whether it has been pushed by something, or is there the bowel has gone into this place by there, because of there is no diaphragm, so we call it costodiaphragmatic hernia. Is there no absent diaphragm and the stomach has been gone through this, we call it sliding hiatal hernia or paraesophageal hernias, etc. So just remember, if there is obscured diaphragm or absent diaphragm at some point, then there will be be always this organ always go up, right? So this diaphragm also prevents these organs from going up into the lung fields, right? So just comment on the diaphragm too. And E is for everything else like bones, ribs, vertebra, and humerus, scapula, etc. So comment on those. So now look at the X-ray. So look at the X-ray. First I comment on the right. Look at this, the X-ray has not been rotated, right? Because this the angle, the measurement of the clavicle are both from equal distance. These clavicle are measuring the same approximately, so it is not rotated. Second, these vertebra ribs are counting more than 6, so it means that it has been taken inspiration, which is good. The third, comment on the P. Comment on the P means that comment on the projection, right? So the projection mean whether it is taken in anterior posterior view or posterior anterior view. So comment on the projection, it is a PA view because the apex of the lungs goes above the clavicle. And E mean for exposure, there is moderate amount of exposure. We can see the vertebral body but not as clear as it can be seen on the high amount of exposure, right? So now comment on the organs. How to comment on the organ? Look at the this trachea, this small air, you can see clearly this air coming, this is a trachea, right? So comment on the trachea, comment on the bronchiole and bronchi and carina. We can't, you people can't see it, but as a radiologist, you can better see it, that there is a division at this point. So division at this point, we call this at this point is a carina, right? And it you, if you don't know where the carina is, just remember that the carina is at T4 level. So just remember that below the cervical vertebrae at T4, this is thoracic vertebra 1, 2, 3, 4. So in front of this fourth vertebra there is a division of the carina, right? So this is the carinal division. Yeah, so we have commented on the projection and the exposure, moderate amount. Now how to read the organs? Remember ABCDE pattern. So airway, then the breathing organs. The lungs are adequate. Adequate lungs mean the normal lungs shall be measuring between 6 to 8 ICS. It means this is the vertebra, the ribs are if the lungs is measuring up to 6 to 8 ribs, it means that that the lungs are adequate amount of exposure and having no restrictive or obstructive patterns, right? And obstructive diseases, this lung will go beyond the 9th or 10th ribs, and restrictive disease, it will listens into this amount of exposure, right? So just remember, comment on the trachea, it is at normal position. The lungs, comment on the heart. The heart at this point, if I measure this heart as compared to the whole lung, so just remember, if I take a scale and measure this, if this come out to be let's suppose 5 centimeter, and I measure the whole chest and it comes out to be the 13 centimeters, so this heart looks above a bit 35% of the whole chest wall. So it means that this heart is a bit small as compared to this. So it means that either the lungs have been overexposed, or either the patient has taken over inspiration, etc. So or there is cardiac atrophy or restrictive heart diseases. All right, so comment A, airway, breathing organs, C, cardiac shadow, and the cardiophrenic angles, right? This is cardiophrenic angle and the costophrenic angle. And then D on the diaphragm. This is the right dome of the diaphragm. Below it is a solid organ, right liver lobe, and this is the left dome of diaphragm. There is a left lobe of the liver with the stomach. And then he comment on everything else, comment on this rib, trace this rib to the posterior. So this is the posterior segment, and then coming into interior. This is the second rib posteriorly coming into interior. This third, this fourth. Then look at this this count, they measure these ribs, and these ribs are also looking normal, right? Then look at the vertebrae, these are also looking normal, right? You can see this clavicles normal looking, the head of the humerus, right? So these are also looking normal. And then the scapula with the axillary fatty tissues, etc., and the breast, right? So these are everything else, bones, humerus, ribs, vertebra, spinous or cervical vertebrae, etc. You can comment on everything else. Remember RIPE and ABCDE.